Listen closely because what I'm about to share could directly affect your Social Security benefits. Many seniors are shocked to discover that the Social Security Administration can actually take money back from you even years after they've paid it out. And in some cases, they're doing exactly that. If you think this couldn't possibly happen to you, stay with me until the end of this video because I'm going to walk you through why this happens, the biggest reasons seniors are being hit, and most importantly what steps you need to take right now to protect yourself. Before we begin, please do me a quick favor. Hit the like button. Subscribe to this channel for more updates and drop a comment below letting me know if you or someone you know has ever had Social Security demand money back. You'd be surprised how many seniors have gone through this. Part 1: Why Social Security can take money back. As shocking as it sounds, the Social Security Administration has full authority to come back, sometimes years later, and demand repayment of benefits they claim were incorrectly issued. And the most unsettling part is many seniors have no idea this can even happen until it's too late. You assume that once the money lands in your account, it's yours to keep. After all, you worked hard, you paid into the system, and you trusted the government to get the math right. But that's not how it works. The official term for this is called an overpayment. In plain English, it means the government believes they gave you too much money. That could be just a few hundred or tens of thousands of dollars if the mistake went on unnoticed for years. Now here's the kicker. Overpayments aren't always the result of something you did wrong. In fact, many of my clients who've been hit with these repayment demands were completely blindsided. They followed the rules, reported their information on time, and still got caught in the system's errors. Sometimes the SSA uses outdated information. Sometimes their own clerical staff make mistakes. And sometimes the rules themselves are so complex that even their representatives give out incorrect advice. But the law is clear. Even if it wasn't your fault, you're still responsible. Imagine this. You're in your late 70s living on a fixed income, counting every penny to cover medications, groceries, and rent. Suddenly, you get a letter saying you owe $12,000 because of an overpayment from 3 years ago. You don't even remember the exact payments they're talking about. Yet you're being held accountable. This happens more often than people realize. And it's the reason why seniors everywhere need to pay attention. Part 2: The most common triggers of overpayments. Now, let's break down exactly what tends to cause these so-called overpayments. If you understand the main triggers, you can take steps to protect yourself. The first and biggest culprit is income reporting issues. Seniors receiving Supplemental Security Income, SSI, or those who claimed early retirement benefits are required to report changes in their earnings. The problem: the system is unforgiving. A simple delay in reporting, maybe you earned a little extra from part-time work, maybe your pension payout was slightly higher than expected, can set off a chain reaction. Even if it's an honest mistake, the SSA's computers flag it as an overpayment, and months later, you're stuck with a repayment notice. Second, changes in marital status are another landmine. If you get married, divorced, or widowed, your benefit calculations can change overnight. But here's where the trouble starts. The SSA doesn't always update its system properly. You might have called them, filled out the paperwork, and thought you did your part. Yet, if their records don't match, you may continue receiving benefits at the wrong rate. Years later, you suddenly find out you were being overpaid all along. Another major trigger involves disability reviews. For those receiving Social Security Disability Insurance, SSDI, the SSA periodically re-evaluates your condition. If they later decide you weren't eligible during a certain period, even if you were relying on their checks, they'll demand that money back. I've had clients who were dealing with serious medical conditions only to be told years later that their disability benefits should never have been issued. It's devastating. And we can't forget clerical errors. Yes, the government makes mistakes, and more often than you'd think. Payments sometimes continue after a person notifies them of a change in living arrangements, or they miscalculate benefits based on outdated records. But here's the harsh truth. The error may be theirs, but the responsibility still falls on you. What makes all of this especially cruel is that these problems don't usually show up right away. You may receive incorrect payments for months or even years before anyone at Social Security notices. By then, the debt can be enormous. I've seen repayment demands of $5,000, $15,000, even $30,000. And when you're living on a fixed income, those numbers are not just inconvenient, they're life-changing. Part 3: How they take the money back. Now that you understand why overpayments happen, let's talk about what's even scarier. How Social Security actually takes the money back. This is where seniors feel the most helpless because the government doesn't always wait for you to send in a check. They have tools that allow them to reach right into your future payments, your refunds, and sometimes even your bank account. The most common method is withholding future benefits. This means they simply reduce your monthly Social Security checks until the debt is paid off. For some seniors, they don't just reduce the payment, they can withhold the entire monthly benefit. Imagine expecting your $1,500 check to arrive, only to find it's been completely withheld because of an overpayment you weren't even aware of for someone living month to month. That's devastating. Another method they use is tax refund seizures. Through something called the Treasury Offset Program, Social Security can intercept any federal tax refund you're supposed to receive. That means even if you were counting on that money to catch up on bills, it can vanish before it ever reaches your bank account. For seniors who are still working part-time, there's also the risk of wage garnishment. Yes, even if you're in your 60s or 70s working a few hours a week to make ends meet, the SSA can legally garnish your wages until the overpayment is repaid. It feels cruel, but it's within their power. And while it's rarer, there have been cases of bank account offsets. This is where funds are taken directly from your account to satisfy the debt. Just think about the stress of checking your balance only to discover money missing because of an overpayment issue you might not have even caused. The point is, once Social Security believes you owe them money, they have strong collection tools at their disposal. And unlike other creditors, they don't always have to go to court first. That's why so many seniors feel blindsided. The agency can reach into your income stream without the same hurdles a private debt collector would face. This is not about small inconveniences. It's about seniors losing the financial stability they depend on, all because of errors that may have built up silently for years. That's why understanding this process and staying proactive is so critical. Part 4: What you can do if you get a repayment notice. So let's say the worst happens. You open your mailbox and there it is. An official letter from the Social Security Administration with the words "Notice of Overpayment" across the top. Your heart drops. You scan the page and see they're claiming you owe thousands of dollars. For many seniors, this moment feels like the floor just gave way beneath their feet. But here's the first thing I tell my clients. Don't panic and don't ignore it. You do have options, but you need to act quickly and deliberately. The very first tool available is something called a waiver request. A waiver is essentially you telling Social Security, "This overpayment wasn't my fault and paying it back would cause me financial hardship." If you can prove both of those things, they may forgive the debt entirely. To apply, you'll need to fill out Form SSA 632. I've seen seniors successfully argue their case when they showed that they relied on the payments in good faith and repayment would leave them unable to afford basic living expenses like rent, food, or medication. It's not easy, but it's possible. The second option is to appeal the overpayment decision. This is critical if you truly believe Social Security is wrong, that you were entitled to those payments. Appealing allows you to challenge their calculations and provide evidence. For example, maybe they overlooked income exclusions, misapplied spousal benefit rules, or simply made a clerical mistake. Don't assume the government always gets it right. Their records are full of errors and appeals exist for a reason. Now, let's say you agree you owe the money, but you simply can't pay it all at once. That brings us to the third option, negotiating a repayment plan. Social Security does allow monthly installment arrangements. Instead of demanding $10,000 upfront, they may agree to a reduced monthly deduction from your benefits, something you can realistically manage. But here's where many seniors make mistakes. They don't ask, they just let the SSA withhold whatever they decide. You have the right to negotiate terms that don't leave you destitute. The worst thing you can do is crumple up that letter and toss it in the trash. Ignoring it doesn't make it go away. It makes the situation worse. Once Social Security starts collection actions, it becomes much harder to get relief. And remember, you don't have to go through this alone. A lawyer, a Social Security advocate, or even a non-profit legal aid group can guide you through the process. I've personally seen seniors who were initially told they owed $20,000 walk away paying nothing simply because they challenged the decision properly and gathered the right documentation. So, if you ever get that dreaded notice, take a deep breath, read every word carefully, and then act. The system may seem intimidating, but you are not powerless. Part 5: How to protect yourself going forward. Now, let's shift from damage control to prevention, because the best defense against overpayments is to avoid getting one in the first place. While you can't always control Social Security's errors, there are steps you can take to reduce your risk and protect yourself. The most important thing is to keep detailed, organized records. Every time you communicate with Social Security, whether it's reporting income, notifying them of a life change, or asking a question, write it down. Keep copies of every letter you send, every form you submit, and even notes from phone calls, including the date, time, and the name of the person you spoke to. Too often, seniors rely on verbal assurances from Social Security staff, only to find later that nothing was updated in the system. Having your own paper trail gives you evidence if a dispute arises. The next critical step is to report changes immediately. If your income increases, if your marital status changes, if someone moves in or out of your household, don't wait. Even a delay of a few weeks can result in extra payments that later get flagged as an overpayment. And make sure you report through official channels online, through your SSA account, by phone, and if possible in writing. Double reporting may feel redundant, but it creates a record that you did your part. Another powerful tool is regularly checking your Social Security statements and notices. Many seniors glance at these and then tuck them away in a drawer. Don't do that. Read every line. Look for inconsistencies in income calculations, payment amounts, or eligibility notes. If something looks off, contact SSA immediately and get clarification in writing. Catching errors early can save you from years of accumulating debt. I also strongly recommend seeking professional guidance when you're unsure. The rules around Social Security are complicated, sometimes intentionally, so a quick call with a Social Security lawyer or benefits advocate can clarify things before they snowball into bigger problems. Think of it this way. Would you rather spend 30 minutes asking questions now, or spend years fighting to repay thousands of dollars later? And finally, remember that you are your own best advocate. Social Security has millions of beneficiaries, and their systems aren't perfect. They don't always catch mistakes right away, and when they do, it's often at your expense. The more proactive and vigilant you are, the less likely you'll be blindsided. I can't tell you how many times I've had seniors say to me, "If only I had caught this sooner." Don't let that be you. Take control now. Keep your records. Double-check your statements, report changes right away, and don't be afraid to ask for help. Doing these things doesn't guarantee you'll never face an overpayment, but it puts you in the strongest position possible to fight back if it happens.